The ones that I feel the most for, and those are the ones that I've also spoken to, like it's like 20-year-olds, the ones that are just graduating.
Your personal character and your creativity might matter more than anything. Part of me thinks university is too late. Is the new traditional path going to be everybody's going to be trying to make the next Apple? I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. Nobody knows what the future is really going to look like.
I think the kids will be all right. Okay, I'm going to learn this specific thing. I'm going to major in this niche and I'm going to go and there's going to be a job for me. And if that specific niche that you have specialized in suddenly is shifting dramatically, you're suddenly left without a floor and a fallback plan. So I think our kids have a bit more time to react and adapt and maybe see how society evolves. And we can prepare them hopefully as well better. If I tell someone that are about like, oh yeah, you're on the bandwagon of AI, it's a new thing that's relatively new now, right? But for kids, it's, oh yeah, okay, yeah. It's just, there is tablets, there is internet, there is AI. It's for them, they are, I don't know if it's fair enough to call them AI natives or whatever you want to call it, but they were quite young, not consciously aware of like many things in the internet when AI was becoming the big thing. So for them, it's not this weird new black box that we're exploring. They're like, oh yeah, there's some chatbots out there. So I'm not finding that they are like treating it as this big, momentous, paradigm-shifting technology that many of us more mature audiences are finding it.
Yeah. Do you set like any like parental controls on them? Like AI, I don't know, like a lot of people do with and things like that.
Yeah. We talk about it a lot, and I'm trying to be relatively strict. Like my kids, my son has only gotten his first phone, and that was a dumb phone last year. He was going to Poland for a hockey tournament, and we said, listen, if you want to get a phone, it's going to be a dumb phone. I don't want you to. I'm really trying to stick to the whole recommendation of not letting them have social media until 13 plus. And we also do like screen controls, parental controls. So when the rest of them shut down, you can still do this. And AI, I think actually most of accounts are by default locked. I find that like Google system, they don't allow any kids accounts to use Gemini. So if they would need to use Gemini, I would actually need to hand them my like adult account for that. It's also like 13 plus, I believe. So there are many of these providers, they also are trying to be maybe a little bit ahead of things compared to social media and prevent any kind of pushback against allowing the chatbots for kids.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know if you've heard of this recently. I've seen on some YouTube channels that people are like, I guess there's like a big law firm that's doing just a massive lawsuit against YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, there's class action lawsuits about social media in general.
Yeah, about how they didn't warn people growing up with it.
Yeah.
And that it could cause certain issues down the line. So yeah, I like that Google's getting ahead of this, but maybe they're only getting ahead of it because they're having this experience now.
Like together, okay, if you want to find this out, let's ask ChatGPT, let's ask all that. And then we also try to reflect on, you shouldn't just trust what they come up with, you still want to go to the source. That hasn't really, to me, changed much from the Google era, because during Google, you can do a Google search and you find 10 results, and 3 of those are just some conspiracy blog guys sitting and writing like something. So you still need to go and you need to go to the source. You need to find, is it being misquoted? Is it being represented for like clickbait? AI, of course, obfuscates some of that, right? Because now you just have this perfectly packaged answer in the chatbot, and you have even less of a motivation to have to go to click on that link, because you're like, oh, AI summarized it and it gave me a link, and I'm sure it summarized it correctly, right? So it abstracts away from the source of knowledge. So that's, I think, the risk. That's the argument for saying that AI is a bit trickier, but fundamentally, the idea of critical thinking and critically questioning things that you're getting from the internet, whether it's through a search engine or a chatbot, hasn't changed that much with AI. And the only way to practice it is in some kind of environment where you can have feedback and discussion about it. I brought it up, I think, a couple of times before, but Ethan Mollick, that's like he's the Wharton professor who writes about AI. He's very much on the AI bandwagon. He believes that it's a technology for the better over time, but he says that the way he uses it in his MBA classes is that he encourages people to use them, but his expectations and his ambition level from the deliverables are very different from just write me an essay or solve this case, because AI can solve it for you in 2 seconds. That's not the problem anymore. I want you to actually reflect on, how did you use AI? Where did you find it helpful? Where did you find it not helpful? Why? How did you analyze its results? So he wants that critical thinking to be elevated above just using AI to get the right answer. Because it's no longer interesting to know that 2 + 2 is 4. And it's also like, how do you get that? And so what? What do you do with that 4 now that you've got the number, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Part of me thinks university is too late.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think especially looking at it now, universities, when I was growing up, it was almost like a mandatory. It was like, this kid was like 18 just getting out of high school, and they were asking him, like, what are taxes? What's a mortgage? What's like all of these different financial based things, like real life things. And he had no idea, nothing. And then they asked him, like, what's a mitochondria? What's like questions about algebra and questions about chemistry that unless you go into these specific fields, you will never need. And he knew the answers to everything. So yeah, I think the education system needs to definitely change. And I get it though. It's tough. Education is filled with bureaucracy and kind of universities, especially, I think, being like stuck in their ways, and even punishing students for
Yeah.
using AI.
ChatGPT can write it for you while you take a sip of water. It doesn't measure anything anymore. And yes, you can ban AI, but then the question might be like, okay, but the person who is doing this essay and who is supposed to deliver, he's going to be in a world where AI is accessible. And can we elevate the deliverable here is like beyond the essay? And
Yeah.
actually, a couple of days ago, I was proud that happened. I wasn't home, but my wife said that. So my daughter came home and was starting this new thing that before she goes on her play dates, which she's just having every single time after school now, we're like, listen, come home, unpack your stuff, do 15 minutes of whatever, some math homework or whatever you have, then you can buzz off. So she came in, she filled out a sheet, and then my wife goes, hey, I'm just going to take a picture of this and we're going to try to ask Gemini about it. And then my daughter goes, you can tell Gemini that if it tells me it's wrong, it isn't, because I actually checked some of those with the calculator and had to correct 3 of my own mistakes. So she's already like saying that she's aware that the chat bot can be wrong. And she's standing by her own like conclusions that she arrived at with the old school calculator. So that's like a nice indication that I think the kids will be all right, like at their age, because to them, this is just another tool and they're questioning it as we would search engines back in our day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think another point that came to mind for me is a lot of times, like, intelligence was very standardized and measured in a way based on how you scored on certain tests. If
yeah,
you scored well on those tests and had good grades, you go to college for free. I wonder what that's going to look like pretty soon coming up now. And maybe I kind of have this gut feeling that, like, your personality, your character as an individual might shine, might be more important than anything. Because it's easy to say, like, AI can do anything and everything. I don't really think that's true. For people that actually use it, they know that's not true. I think like your personal character and your creativity might matter more than anything right now, and maybe even more so in the future. What
right.
are you able to think of independently and then use AI to build it? So
Yeah.
I think that might be maybe a cool way to insert it into education, to give students not just like homework, 1+1 homework, personality and like creativity might eventually be worth more than just how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
And maybe that will be like a new scale for intelligence. If you're more creative than others and you have all the same tools at your fingertips that everybody else does, then I think you might get ahead in society. Like Apple really just was all started from an idea, just like every other company started from an idea. And then there's obstacles in the way of how you can build it and how long that will take. And those obstacles are just constantly getting removed now.
Exactly. I think you
Yeah.
often hear it in the current discourse that I'm reading as well, that taste and judgment are like the key things that will matter more. In a world where anybody can technically build anything and you can build a clone of anything within seconds, it's the one who has the original idea and gets that built with the same magic powers that all of us have that can get ahead, right? So it's having the vision, because the execution part is shrinking, or on many levels, at least on the prototype level. So where do you aim that magic wand? What do you aim it at, and what problem are you solving? I think that becomes more of a differentiator than the ability to build it. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Do you think that our kids are going to have more opportunity or less based on where everything is going?
My initial gut knee-jerk reaction is like overwhelmingly more. You can say that yes, they might not have traditional places and traditional path that we had. You finished education in topic A, and then you're guaranteed a job in topic A. But if they have all the things we discussed, critical ability to critically think, the judgment, the vision, and in a world where being able to build that and get that up and running is at their fingertips, then the opportunities is only what they make them. So it's more tools and a lot more opportunities than we've ever had, for sure.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with you. I just think it's a bit tricky. Like you mentioned, traditional path. Even the way the education system is set up, the education system is set up in many ways what our traditional workforce looks like. You get to school, you have your class, you start at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., you finish at whatever time. And it's the same thing with people that have a traditional path of where they're working, whether it's in an
Sure.
office or even on a construction site, whatever it might be. Like you clock in and you clock out versus people that are building something new. There is no clock in and clock out,
Mhm.
like a big gray area in my head. But yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. Nobody knows what the future is really going to look
No.
like.